Welcome to How to Select a Martial Art, Studio, and Instructor. My name is Alex Addix. I'm the president and founder of Palladium Education, Inc. The most common question I receive on a weekly basis from people all over the world is, what is the best martial art? And that question comes in a variety of forms, such as, how do I select a good instructor? I have the following martial arts studios in my neighborhood. Which one should I take? I live in, name a city or even a country. Do you know any good studios near me? I've never studied martial arts before. How do I get started? Those are all outstanding questions, and by merely asking them, it shows that you care about your training. It automatically puts you worlds ahead of someone who just randomly chooses a studio from a phone book. I get this question so often that I decided to put together a definitive lecture on the subject and publish it broadly. Based solely on the number of inquiries that I received, there were a lot of people out there searching for this type of information. So, by the end of this lecture, you should be able to evaluate your personal martial art training needs, select a martial art style that fits those needs, appraise the studios in your neighborhood, and make an educated selection of a martial arts instructor for yourself and your children. Before we jump into the material, I should explain my background and experience. I started my martial arts training when I was 10 years old. I have more decades of training time than I care to admit publicly. I have years of formal training in American Kempo, Hapkido, reality-based personal protection, and I recently started formal training in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I also have informal training in Chinese Kenpo, Wushu, and Shorin-Ryu, although I consider American Kempo to be my primary art. I've also had the benefit of studying for years under some world-renowned grandmasters, and those people include Grandmaster Bong Soo-Han, Grandmaster Larry Tatum, Grandmaster Mohammed Tabatabai, and Jim Wagner. I've been featured in martial arts training DVDs published by Black Belt Magazine, and I've been featured in martial arts and self-defense books. I've been published in Taekwondo Times Magazine, and I continue to author a monthly online column for them called Raising Awareness. I'm also the creator and host of a free weekly podcast called Practical Defense. The show is downloaded in well over 100 countries and has had hundreds of thousands of downloads and regularly appears in the top 15 audio podcasts in the education and training section of the iTunes Store. There is a school out there that has everything you're looking for. The trick is to first identify what you want and then find a school to match it. Unfortunately, most people find a school first, and then when things don't work out, they blame the school, the style, or even martial arts in general. So let's begin by evaluating what you want to achieve with your training. Martial arts by its very nature offers a bunch of things. They include, a cardiovascular workout, strength building, development of flexibility, development of balance, self-confidence, discipline, and self-defense training. Beyond what the martial art offers, there's also the type of school to consider. Many martial arts studios offer training beyond just the physical. For example, there's a spiritual development. Traditional martial arts often offer development of mind, body, and spirit. And this isn't restricted to just Eastern traditions. There are plenty of schools that employ traditional martial arts themes, but with a modern Western interpretation. There's competition in the form of tournaments. This can be point fighting, empty-handed forms, weapon forms, grappling, and so on. There are a huge number of variations of competition. And what type of atmosphere do you want to train in? Do you want it formal with a firm hierarchy? Do you want a family atmosphere, which is very informal? Do you want a club or a clan atmosphere? This is where members of the studio meet socially for events outside of class. Many people find their studio to be a surrogate family. Or a gym. This is a sterile, quick, and businesslike atmosphere. You come in, you do your workout, and you leave. And you want to determine whether you want private lessons or group classes. You need to be honest in your evaluation, or you might make a choice that wastes your time or just makes you unhappy. Now that we know what you want to get out of your training, let's try to match that to a particular martial art style. I'm often asked, what is the best martial art? There is no best or perfect martial art. There are great martial arts for your particular needs, your philosophy, your body, and your capability. That question is usually followed by, what is the best martial art for self-defense? And again, there is no best martial arts for this. All martial arts teach the basics. You're only going to use the basics in a self-defense situation. That means probably 5 hand strikes and maybe 2 kicks. That's it. The other 50 hand strikes and 90 kicks are for the art of martial arts. They're for building strength, balance, and coordination. The jumping, spinning heel kick to the head is the stuff of movies, not the street. The human body is made one way. Our ancestors figured out how to throw a basic punch and kick tens of thousands of years ago. By the time you leave grade school, you probably figured out most of it yourself. The rest is fine-tuning and application, and by no means should that be disregarded. You need to find an art that fits you. And by that, I mean your personal philosophy, your body, and your ability. For example, if you're picking up a martial art later in life, physical ability is a huge factor. Now, for example, I'm a big guy. When I was 12, I was moved from the kids class to the adult class. When I fought in tournaments, I often wasn't allowed to fight in my own age category. Because of my size, the judges didn't believe I was as young as I claimed to be. So we started carrying a copy of my birth certificate to prove my age. And even then, I was still often forced to compete in age categories 2 and 3 times higher. My primary art of American Kempo is perfect for me. American Kempo takes full advantage of motion to maximize speed and power. If you can learn to control your body, you can generate enormous power. If you're already large, that power is magnified. For another example, if you're smaller or older, you might want to consider an art that redirects energy in attacks. Something like Hapkido or Tang Soo Do. But these are not hard and fast rules. Only you can decide what best fits you. I'll get into the trial process in a bit. There are special considerations for women when it comes to self-defense. If you're not taking martial arts for self-defense, then you can disregard this section. Most attacks against women start with a grab. The attacker wants to control, contain, or take the woman someplace else. This is in stark contrast to attacks against men, which usually initiate with strikes. So for women, I suggest looking into martial arts that offer good techniques to avoid and escape grabs and holds. It may be politically incorrect, but the truth is that, in general, pound for pound, women are physically weaker than men. Sure, there are exceptions. My sister is a perfect example. My little sister is blonde-haired, blue-eyed, 5'2" and 120 pounds. For the international folks, that's about 1.5 meters tall and less than 50 kilos. When she fought in tournaments against boys her size and larger, she would knock them out of the ring. She also won powerlifting competitions. So, can a woman be stronger than an equally sized man? Sure. However, that is the exception, not the rule. Does training help? Absolutely. But I'm speaking in generalities here. So as, in general, women are weaker than men, they should consider looking for an art that redirects attacks rather than face them head-on. But again, there are always exceptions. American Kempo was a direct, head-on martial art. My little sister excelled at it, and I train with many women who do really well with it. The bottom line is that you need to find a martial art that fits your personality and attitude. There are many flowing martial arts that use redirection, and there are an equal number of arts that employ direct techniques. If you don't like the style, the techniques, or the instructor, you'll stop attending class. You need to find one that you like, and there are many, many options out there. Self-defense is about attitude. You must take responsibility for your own safety. You must refuse to be a victim. You need to become a hard target. The style you choose should be a reflection of that conviction while at the same time being something that you enjoy practicing. Now, I'll cover trying out various styles and studios in a bit.